Hello and thank you for downloading this most recent episode of Movie Guys Podcast. Before we start the show tonight, we wanted to give everybody a word of warning that each episode produced by Movie Guys Podcast is for a mature audience. You have been warned. Also, all of our reviews are spoiler filled. So if you have not seen the film that we're going to talk about tonight, turn off the show and come back when you're ready to listen. Thank you so much for downloading, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another awesome episode of Movie Guys Podcast. And tonight we're talking about all four of the original Rambo movies. We're going to be leading up to our review next week of Rambo Last Blood. I like that title. I am Jordan, and I'm joined here, like always, with Eric and best friend Ryan. Eric, how the hell are you doing?
I'm out for blood. I guess I could. No, that was a
There you
horrible
go.
one.
No, that was good.
There's
That was
so
good
much.
enough.
There's. How do you have a First Blood Part 2? That's a good question. Hopefully Ryan can answer.
Yeah, I don't know. You just gotta find a place to belong.
It's like, but it seems like it counter like the title itself. First Part 2. You know, it's just.
I was reading fun facts for Rambo 3, which I know we're probably going to talk about the titles. Rambo 3 was originally called Full Circle Last or Final Blood or something like that.
With this movie being called Last Blood, are we to assume, or the next one coming out, Last Blood, are we to assume that this is the end of Rambo?
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
you know this. Well, they said like Rocky was supposed to end a few times too.
But it has. I mean, like, Rocky 5 was not called Rocky 5, The Last Punch. It was just called Rocky 5. And then Rocky Balboa came out, and then there's no more Rocky movies, and now they're doing the Creed storyline. So they could do the same thing with Rambo. You know, Rambo and Last Blood next week has a long-lost son, a cousin, some sort of relative, and that person's going to take on the mantle of Rambo. They could. But
It's
this is
gonna
the
be
last
his
time.
daughter. These are very progressive movies, Jordan. It's gonna be his daughter to take up the mantle of Rambo.
Wait, is it the person that he's saving is like a niece or something, right? Is it
It's
not?
his
It's not the daughter.
That's what I'm assuming, because there were two different plots about that movie that came out before we talk about the other ones. But the plots that I read, the first plot is not at all what the movie was, and it's the movie that I wanted. And the original script for Last Blood was supposed to be the sheriff in the first movie, his son has a team of mercenaries, and they are seeking out Rambo for revenge of what he did originally in the first movie. They find him on a farm in Kansas, and it's pretty much a remake of First Blood at that point. That's not the movie that we're going to get. The movie that we're going to get is he has a niece, and this is the first time Rambo comes back to the States since the first movie, and his niece gets date raped, and he beats up these punk gangsters, and then the gangsters find out where he lives and attacks him on his farm. That's the movie we're going to get next week. Very John Wick.
It's almost the way that it's going to be presented. I think this is going to be like Rambo movies meets Home Alone.
Ooh, nice.
And I'm kind of down for that. Now, refreshing my memory of all these Rambo movies, because again, when a movie goes over 4 movies, it's kind of hard to, they all kind of blur together. You know what I mean? Fast and Furious.
Oh, yeah.
So in this area, I was reminded though that the 2008 release of Rambo was the bloodiest by far.
Yes, it was.
It is over the top, gratuitous in its violence. That might be the only attractive quality I found in the movie, because
is that what you want in these movies?
No.
Yes.
So there's a weird evolution because I've seen before this week, before we decided to do this episode, I had only seen First Blood. That's the only Rambo movie I'd ever seen. Um, I sat down and I watched Rambo First Blood Part 2, and then I watched Rambo 3, and then Rambo today. And there's a weird progression because it, the first movie is supposed to be like this kind of psychological examination of like the forgotten warriors, where this guy was tortured in Vietnam, where he, served for this country, comes back and he's spat on and he's treated like he's a criminal because they think he's a vagrant, and he he when he gets mistreated in the jail, he has a flashback to being tortured as a prisoner of war in Vietnam, and that's what sets the whole escape and running into the woods thing, and him like reliving his encounters in Vietnam. He doesn't actually kill anyone in the first movie. He does set he does rig some of the buildings in the downtown area of that town and blow stuff up. But then, like, when his commander tells him it's, enough's enough, we're shutting it down, it's over, he like cries and breaks down and he has a break because he's still scarred by the history of Vietnam. And then in the very next movie, they get him out of prison, they send him back to Vietnam to rescue POWs from Vietnamese people who did the same thing to him, and he's totally fine. Totally fine.
Oh yeah.
And the third one, they send him into Afghanistan, which is funny in hindsight, like funny, sad in hindsight, to go help the people that I do believe will eventually become the Taliban stave off Russia, and he's totally fine. He gets shot in the fucking rib or the side and just cauterizes it with a bullet with gunpowder, and he's totally cool. And then, like, the fourth one, he just murders everybody in his path that's not white. It's incredible.
So this these as ridiculous as these movies are, it has set a an iconic role and character for action movies, right? I mean, like, this is everybody knows Rambo without even seeing Rambo. Like, the name itself is synonymous with action movies, right? Kind of like your Terminators or your Schwarzeneggers. You have Sly coming out here and playing the fantastically red headbanded hero, right?
Oh, he is ripped. He is ripped in the second and third, yeah, second and third movie.
Well, I maybe you will agree or disagree. I think the real hero in this movie is, of course, the hairstylist.
That's true. That's
Uh,
very true.
his locks are flowing, and they're long, they're luscious, and always glistening. Got the soul glow. Really just is representing very well. So
Do you think that helps with his camouflage?
that I think it helps to flex bullets. The sheen off of that is so slick in the oil that it. Oh, maybe yeah, maybe you can use it to for the sun's rays to bounce off and help him blind.
Now, my first introduction to Rambo was through my dad, and he didn't show me Rambo. The first movie that I could see that was even close to Rambo was Hot Shots Part 2.
Wonderful, wonderful movie.
And I didn't know that was a sequel. It was just Hot Shots Part 2. And it's pretty much Rambo 2 and 3 combined. And I laughed, and I had a great time with it. My dad, like, you like those movies? I was like, yeah, it was pretty funny. He was like, well, let me show you what this is, what the real movie is about. And he shows me First Blood.
Enough of that laughing, boy. Time for
right?
action.
So I remember he shows me First Blood, and I freak out when Sly freaks out in the jail scene, because I'm just like, this is not Hot Shots Part 2. I don't want to watch this. Like, I was probably 10 years old.
Yeah, there's no chicken bow and arrow, right?
Yeah. But I actually own the First Blood on Blu-ray, so I got a chance to watch it recently here for our review, and I really enjoy First Blood. I agree with Ryan. It's a very not. First Blood is not a great film, but it's a very good late 70s, early 80s opinion about Vietnam and how we as Americans treated him, because he was just a drifter, really. He just went to go see his buddy, finds out his buddy dies, and all of a sudden the sheriff starts pissing on his parade. I mean, the first movie I thought was great. 2 is okay, but 3's when they jump the shark. He fights an Apache helicopter at the end.
But this might be the times, because I feel like and same thing goes for a lot of those movies, whether it be like a Superman or whether it be like Death Wish, where like I feel because all three of those movies, whether it be Rambo, Superman, and Death Wish, I think we're right around that same like late 70s, early 80s time mark when they were created, right? And movies around that time, I think, still for the most part wanted to keep some honor to it, I guess. And so the story that they were trying to film had to have be complete. It couldn't have be straight up ridiculous, just because that's just silly, and if it was silly, then it'd be a comedy movie. So these movies, for the first parts of them, are great, but then after a while you could see just like the studios getting lower and lower, and they're just like, yeah, sure, just we don't have time in the budget to explain story here. We got two shots. We got to pick one of them, and then we just got to move on to the next because the budget allows it, type of thing. So you have the further down these franchise, the introduction of the cheesy Saturday, you know, basically the cheesy Saturday movie, right? Like,
Right.
So
I mean,
what happened in the historical? Okay, so historical context for what Eric is talking about. You had the Cineplex revolution in America in like 1984 and 85, where instead of it being one screen theaters in a town, you would have these multiplexes where they had 12 screens. They could show 6 movies, 7 movies at a time, and that's when weekend box office um, started becoming bigger and bigger, and you were making more money quickly because now you had more screens to show it on. I think Back to the Future is the first movie to really like take advantage of to get like its success from that strategy, because you would open, instead of opening in like 300 theaters, because you have to you'd have to send it to like 4 states in the Midwest, and all that stuff. You could show it all over the country all at once, and you could be in 1,500 2,000 screens all in the same day. um, Rambo 2 came out in 85, which is right at the peak, and then Rambo 3 is in 88 when it's in full swing. And the thing is, why the movies get dumber and dumber is because now they realize, oh shit, we can make more of our money up front, because now we're opening it wider. We don't have to worry about losing money to the theater. So they're just gearing it towards making it the biggest opening weekend they can get, but longevity is not a concern anymore.
at that point, yeah, because VHS tapes, although they were out, cost hundreds of dollars to own an actual VHS in the mid 80s. So having a movie like this comes out, there is no longevity. There is no such thing as video shelf life, right? So
Yeah, and it could be like a year and a half before it came out on VHS.
now it's 3 months.
Oh yeah.
so you got
Digital.
kind of like a sprint rather than a marathon mentality there, huh?
Mhm.
But this franchise just jumps the shark very quickly. I mean, when you get a franchise that has multiple sequels, traditionally, like, the first 3 kind of stick in with the same realm of each other. But when you pass 3 and go into 4, that's when stuff gets batshit crazy, right? It's like, but you get First Blood, which is a very serious drama about a guy who goes crazy because of his memories of Vietnam, and then part 2, it's going back to the jungle and being tied to wired bed frames and being electrocuted. Like it completely goes off the rails.
These are the montages, right? They kind of have like the gritted teeth, closed eyes, and the hard bite, and just
Right.
the all right. Sylvester Stallone, look like you're in pain, look like it hurts, and keep going, hold it down, and good. That's my
I do think
impression of the director.
I do think it is funny the immediate progression it takes from being a self-contained story to this town. It's in Washington, right, or Oregon?
It's
Um,
Washington.
Small little town in Washington, and him fighting with the local sheriff. So like it's anti-establishment, already from the get-go. But in the second one, it ratchets it up to where he is essentially in the middle of a conflict where he is fighting off essentially the USSR. And that is such a giant leap to take from one movie to the next. And like even in the third one, it's even to like a higher degree because he's not like in the second one he's saving POWs, but in the third one he's saving a literal country.
Yeah.
I feel like it. At the same part, I feel like a lot of these ideas might be something that have already been taken from something else. Whether it be that kind of against the sheriff, almost like a walking tall type of thing.
Oh, good reference. That's a good reference.
Or even this new the Last Blood coming up, almost like a Taken type of thing.
Yeah, Taken. Walking Tall would be a good one. You're right. It's crazy. Now, Ryan, you said at the beginning of the show the title, First Blood Part 2, because that's the title of number 2, right? It's not Rambo. It's just First Blood Part 2, right?
No, it's officially called Rambo, First Blood Part 2. And he did that. Stallone did that because he wanted to make the name of the franchise Rambo. So then he could just call the third one Rambo Part 3.
Does Stallone's not a writer or director of these movies, is he?
Oh yeah, he not the first one, but I think he was a producer on the first one, and he rewrote, which I'm surprised you haven't brought up yet, but he rewrote James Cameron's draft of Rambo Last Blood, First Blood Part 2, and then he also wrote Part 3 and Part 4 with a writing person. He only directed the fourth one, but at this point he's one of the mega stars in Hollywood, so it's basically whatever he said. He was like Tom Cruise. Like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise doesn't write or direct anything that he's in officially, but he is usually the first creative like the most important creative person on the set for that film.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was going to bring that up, but yeah, James Cameron was hired to write the script for Part 2. I'm sure his script is totally fucking different than what we got.
Yeah, I was reading about it, and there's a wisecracking sidekick, and it was originally proposed. It was going to be John Travolta. That's who George Cosmatos, the guy who directed the movie. That's who he originally picked. Then Stallone was like, "No, let's not do that. I don't need a sidekick." Another thing I read said that he nixed the idea of the sidekick because he didn't want to share a lot of screen time, and he also thought the sidekick got all the better lines.
That
I mean, I
yeah.
would
Listen,
agree with him
sometimes it works,
on
sometimes it doesn't.
that, right? I mean, Rambo doesn't need a sidekick.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't need a love interest either, but they gave him one in the second movie anyways.
Not in this movie.
In the second movie.
But she was like a Bond girl, I mean, she was nothing come the third one, right? So
You're saying that
No,
she
she
was expendable?
There you go. She
that one?
actually does play kind of a part in the third one because he wears her lucky necklace and he gives it to that one Afghan kid.
Yeah, he does.
So the memory stays alive.
The memory does stay alive. Part 4 is batshit crazy. My brother moved up here. This was in his first year moving up here, and this was in 2009, 2010. And there was a huge tornado warning that summer, and it was one of the worst storms I've ever seen. And my mom had a basement, so we had no place to go but to go to her basement. And before we went there, I was like, let's rent a really shitty fucking movie. And my brother worked at movie gallery at the time before they closed. So he brought over Rambo Part 4. I was like, oh God, there's a Part 4. And wow. I mean, the scene that made me go, this is crazy, is when they had a bunch of prisoners and they had like a little
Yeah,
swampy marsh
okay.
area and they threw land. You're cool. And they said, okay, run across. If, if you survive that.
I only heard like part of what you were saying.
Yeah, I
Like
think we
every
got.
time.
I think we got some of that.
Yeah, I got the
What,
gist. So,
what,
are you asking if
what the
what we
fuck?
thought of the game
Is
they play with the
anybody
prisoners?
talking?
Your connection is bad, but
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're cutting out almost as soon as you start talking. And it's kind of funny because like it at a certain point it was like rhythmically cutting in and out, so it sounded like you were singing. Because every time I'd cut out, your pitch would go higher.
Okay.
you need to go first blood in your cable company.
There you go.
It's never enough. That's what he spits out at the end of the first movie, everyone, if you weren't aware. So what was your question, Jordan?
I was just asking what you guys thought of the game that
The
the
game.
bad
It
guys
took me
played.
it took me a second to figure out what they were doing. Um, I mean, I think it is kind of a pretty like stupidly fun way to show that your villains are the villains. Because it happens right at the beginning of the movie. And you get like I'm pretty sure that first scene is where you get your tone setter for the gratuitous violence that we're about to experience.
Mm.
Ultra violence.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the movie, doesn't he shoot their heads off with like this huge gun mounted
Oh
to
yeah.
the
It's like a fucking 10-minute, 5-10 minute sequence where he starts it by shooting a dude point blank in the face with the Gatling gun, and then he just starts blowing off body parts on other people.
yeah. I thought Saving Private Ryan was bloody. This is that one. That one was pretty violent.
Has there been a bloodier movie?
Yeah. Passion of the Christ, Saving Private Ryan, the Red Line.
I wonder if
All right.
it holds. I know the movie, if I recall correctly, I don't know if it still has the record. Um, there's this movie by Peter Jackson you guys have probably seen from the early '90s called Dead Alive. It's also called Brain Dead
Yep.
in other regions. I'm, if I recall, I'm not sure if that still holds the record, but it did set the record for most fake blood used on a movie set. And it's specifically for that scene where he's killing all the zombies with the lawnmower.
Nice. Okay.
One of my favorite uh, scenes in cinema history. But yeah, so technically, I think there's a bloodier movie, but just not this kind of bloody.
I'm sure
Well, see,
there's got to be a lot more. I mean, I'm sure there's bloodier movies, but
well, this
just
is more of your realistic bloody, right? This is something that could happen kind of look.
well,
Oh yeah.
what was different about the bloodiness in this type of movie in this movie?
Well, this movie made it more. I mean, this movie was realistic. If you forget my quotations here, it wasn't lawnmower mowing over zombies. This was a guy with a Gatling gun shooting over the Viet Cong or whatever. Who was the bad guys in the fourth movie? That was the Vietnamese, was it?
Doesn't matter.
Anyway,
The fourth movie, it's Burma. They're in Burma.
Burma. Thank you. So I mean, it's more realistic. I mean, what makes movies like Saving Private Ryan so bloody is because some of those scenes actually happened, right? So it's like, like the storming of Normandy and D-Day and everything. So like it makes it more where fantasy is totally different,
But I mean, like
right?
that's source material. I mean, like you can ask many people who encounter that sort of thing in Saving Private Ryan and be like, well, how close to accurate is this? Whereas Rambo, like, who do Sergeant York? Like who's the closest person that you'd have to that?
Right. I I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm really excited to talk about Last Blood for next week. I'm excited to see what they're going to take this. I hope it's Fast and Furious 8 territory. I hope it gets crazy.
I think it's gonna try. They're gonna try to be like a Taken meets Wolverine meets Home Alone, and
Yeah, no, that's
I'm
what I hope.
curious to see how it's gonna go. Because I think that Wolverine actually was pretty bloody as well too, and this might be a good that grit theme that it's trying to go for a bit more, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Ryan, are you interested to see what's going to happen? Well, you're not going to be here, but I mean, like, are you interested to see what's going to happen?
No, no, not really. I haven't even seen a trailer for this movie. Like I knew it existed. I just didn't
You
bother
must
to.
not watch Hulu then, because this fucking trailer is Hulu. It is all
Yeah.
over.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't turned on the Hulu in a while. I've been Netflixing, going through Stranger Things for the third time. So yeah, no, these Rambo movies they're not my taste. Um, they're just cartoons. I mean, aside from the first one, they're just cartoons. That's the best way I can
I mean,
explain it.
the second one's not that bad, though, right? I mean, the
Oh,
third one is where it jumped completely, though.
well, see, the third one's where it start like so. The first one is good. It's a good movie. Objectively, it's a good movie. Subjectively, I like the beginning and I like the end. The bit in the forest, not my taste. Um, but like the second one it's sort of like it's sort of like the Rock. It kind of mirrors the Rocky series, I think, in a way, where the first Rocky, it's a Stone Cold classic. It's hard to argue that it's not objectively a great movie.
It's
The
fantastic.
second one is good. All right, it's not great, but it does enough to retain the feeling and the tone of the first movie, where you still think that it's good. The third one is a bad movie. It's poorly written, it's poorly acted, it's poorly executed. The fourth movie is so fucking ridiculous that it goes full circle and becomes good again. And then we're not going to talk about the fifth one because it's bullshit. Um, so like Rambo 1, objectively, good movie. Rambo 2 is a combination of Rocky 2 and 3. It has parts that are good, but most of it's just fucking bad. And then you get Rambo 3, which is so fucking ridiculous, it almost becomes good. It is so over the top, so cartoonish, and so just unbelievably ridiculous in its plot and the things that we see that it is a smidge away from being an actually entertaining, fun movie. And then the fourth one is just if you love violence, you're probably going to cream yourself watching that movie every time.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. That movie, Rambo 4, is you drink a beer with your friends and have a good time with. Eric, do you have any opinions on what Ryan just laid out for you, or are you good?
Like, I don't think these types of movies, like the Rambo and the genres of it, really need to anything more. If anything, again, I would just say that this type of movie, I think, because of its success of this one, or of part two, I think might have been the I think is the highest, most successful of the bunch. I think is what I'm reading off of its Wikipedia page here, or Rambopedia. That Rambo Wiki, I guess would be the better way to put that. But of because of this, I think that we had a lot of other movies that were kind of trying to capture this feel, and I appreciate that, because this truly is a one of a kind of on its own, movie that set a genre for action. So you had other okay. Do you guys remember a movie called Solo?
A
In
Star Wars story?
No, that's Star Wars story. This movie, which is called Solo, is an action movie where they made a android, a kind of a perfect soldier type of thing, and he had a red bandana and everything too. And he made him. They tried to make him look like Michael Jordan type of thing, but he was supposed to be like this covert killer. and go in there and just kind of kill the stuff in the jungle type of thing. But that's basically, again, I'm just trying to say this movie spawned other movies kind of like it. Oh, you know what? Now that this movie, because a Solo Star Wars story came out, I wonder if this movie was completely just fell off of the radar now. Hold on, Solo action movie, 90s maybe 90. Oh, it says 96. Yes, called 19 Solo from 1996, starring Mario Van Peebles.
Wow, Mario Van Peebles from Jaws: The Revenge.
Yeah, so this is a good poll. I don't know if you have not seen this movie, but it's it's definitely not worth checking out. But a movie like this kind of was inspired by Rambo. You could definitely feel from watching that. I'm sure there are many other movies that are just like it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. Is that no matter how good or bad you may think that Rambo is, it has left an impression, and that's really all that matters.
I think these
That's true.
movies are kind of their time. Like maybe disregarding the fourth one. If you want to specifically look at 2 and 3, I think they are that way because of the era they came out in. Because that's also the rise of Schwarzenegger, and he was in some over the top nonsense as well, and that at roughly the same time. And that was when like the Canon and Coral Co. and all these smaller studios were producing all these action movies with the rise of Van Damme, the rise of Lundgren, that one football player, Bosworth, Brian Bosworth. They tried to make him an action star because anyone that had muscles could be an action star.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god! Yeah, all the Van Damme movies around this time too. You're right.
We had like Universal Soldier in the early '90s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a Vietnam shit movie as well.
So like again, movies kind of like it. Ridiculous.
Well, everybody, we hope that you enjoyed our most recent discussion here of the Rambo series. This was a one-off, just preparing for Rambo Last Blood for next week. If you like this episode, please check us out at movieguyspodcast.podbean.com, on iTunes, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio. Just search for Movie Guys Podcast. We are the logo with the popcorn and the headphones around it. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back next week for another awesome episode. Have a good night.